Um, Hello, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to this edition of the new and improved Our Hockey After Hour. With us tonight is a short staffed edition with me, Andrew, at Andrew Paddock on Twitter and APAT on Reddit, and Ben, who goes by at Dancing on Highway on Twitter and at on Condor Avenue on Reddit. So the big news from tonight right now is Marian Hossa just got his 1,000th point playing for the Blackhawks.
999 was an assist on Taves' goal, and the 1,000th was a wraparound to put the Hawks up 4-3. And he's actually being interviewed by Pat Foley right now. So, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Pretty good night for him, and I just wanted to. I kind of wanted to start off the podcast with that, just because I love hosts and I need any possible opportunity to
talk about his greatness.
Give him some respect, yeah. Give him the respect that he deserves.
Speaking of Hossa, I was actually looking at his statistics when he got the 1,000, or when I saw it up on our hockey. We got the 1,000. Do you think he'll reach 500 goals? He's at.
Well, I think if he stays healthy, yeah. Because if he stays completely healthy, both this season, next season, and the following season, his production's going to drop off. But I mean, he only needs 35 goals. He could probably do it in this season and next season. Or no, it's 34 now, I guess. So yeah, he only needs 34 more goals between this season and next season.
So that's pretty doable if he stays healthy.
He scored 30 goals in 72 games last year. So yeah, I know his age is going to catch up to him, but even if his production's only 20 this year, he still only needs to put together 100 more games to be guaranteed. So I don't know. It's about whether or not he stays healthy.
Oh, it sounds pretty reachable. Depending on health. What was the final score from the game, too? By the way,
it was a Blackhawks win in a shootout.
Oh,
so
nice.
It was a 4-4 tie, and then 5 if you, I guess, count the shootout goal, which was a goal by Sharp.
Cool.
And the Hawks, I guess, new backup goalie, because they demoted Ranta. Darling is looking pretty good, but I'm still not completely sold on him, just because of he was just giving up a lot of juicy rebounds and wasn't really controlling where they were going. So.
Do you know what the latest news is on Crawford?
Not really. It's kind of unchanged.
Okay, he's still day to day.
Yeah, but it's seemingly more than it's now actually day to day. It seems like, not just one of those day to day. It could be a week. It could be 4 weeks. We don't know because they don't like disclosing things. I think right now it's actually day to day. I would expect him to be in net against the Jets on Sunday at the latest.
Okay, that's pretty doable.
Well, maybe not at the latest, but if I had to pick a day for his return, maybe
at the most possible timing of it, probably.
Yeah, I would expect him back probably Sunday against the Jets.
Okay. Well, speaking of injury news, there was a bit of news coming out of St. Louis earlier today as Ken Hitchcock announced that both David Backes and TJ Oshie both have concussions. probably leaving St. Louis's starting line to just being Tarashenko at this point.
Yeah, it's St. Louis is a very skilled team, but I still think that they can be competitive in the Central, as hard as the division is, just because of they have really good defense too with Pietrangelo and they still have and Jaden Schwartz on is I think one of the most underrated forwards in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd put him in my top 5 underrated forwards in the league. Uh, so I still think St. Louis can be competitive in the division, and I still would put them ahead of, I guess, most. Yeah, I still see them making the playoffs, but it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be a tough road ahead.
Do you think because of the amount of talent in the Central, the division's going to cannibalize on itself, leading to some weird outcomes?
Well, I think that's kind of already happening. Um, I don't know. I guess I've realized that I'm quickly becoming a minority opinion saying the Avalanche are better than the Predators. Uh, and I guess I'm understanding why people take that position. I just don't think when your entire offense is Neil and uh, Neil and Weber that you can really score enough points to be competitive in the toughest division in the league.
Yeah.
And I guess your second best offensive player would be a guy who spent most of his time in the AHL last year.
Huh.
Or your third best, like your second best forward, rather. Or
Hmm.
maybe third, I guess. Smith, maybe. I don't know. But
I'd say third
there's
best.
just a lot of. I'm referring to Forsberg, but
Yeah.
I just don't think the scoring depth is there. And yeah, they have a shutdown defense. And they have a really good goalie. But if you're that lacking with scoring, having a really good goalie and really good defense isn't going to cut it. Maybe if you had Rask and LA's defense or a healthy Bruins defense,
Mm-hmm.
that would that would be different. But having you know a really good or like a very solid goalie, but he's not a top 3 goalie either, and a very good defensive team, but I wouldn't say they're a top 3 defensive team either. So I just don't think that with that big of a lack of scoring, they can really do too much.
Would you say they're punching above their weight at the moment, or is it just a small sample size of games that we really can't determine Nashville's like true identity at this point?
I think it's a little of both. I think I seeing how well they've played over these 9 games though. I do think I may have been underestimating them a little bit, but and in that I don't think that it's them and the Jets are kind of the just bottom scrapers of the division.
Yeah.
But
Um,
I still not completely sold on them. They might be they may have moved ahead of the Wild in the power rankings that are in my head, but they still haven't moved past the Avalanche or the injured Blues.
I mean, just looking at the Western, I'm looking at the standings right now, but I'm looking at goal for, goal different, and goals against. Yeah, their difference right now is +6, but beneath them is Colorado, Arizona. St. Louis is down way down there at +2. This is just with the goals for. Looking it up by goals for though, and then at the bottom is Winnipeg. So I'd say it's definitely unsustainable, but they're, they are going to be competitive. They may have to look for other options for possibly to trade for to get the offense going, at least to act as a counterweight.
Yeah, I don't know if they really need to win this year though.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think that once they get a little bit more, well, as they start to improve, they'll start to get more attendance, more concession merchandise sales. They'll start to get some more revenue. The internal cap will kind of disappear. Um, and that's the type of stuff that they need to, I think, put together a championship caliber team.
This year is
And
just basically rebuilding and for the future.
yeah, I think that they should kind of look at this year as a let's develop Seth Jones, let's develop Forsberg, let's get some more chemistry on the second line. I guess that should be more of at least in my opinion, that should be more of Nashville's focus this year because I think they could be a very good team next year
Mm-hmm.
when they have a little bit more financial room to work with
Yeah.
and that sort of stuff. Because actually, attendance numbers are a little bit down in the NHL this year.
So far?
Um, yeah, that might be in part because 20. Oh no, last year. Sorry, never mind. I was gonna say last year was a shortened season, but I'm completely off on my days. But
No, it was a
still
full
last
year last
season.
year.
Yeah, but uh, yeah, I think attendance numbers are a little bit down this year, but Nashville's isn't really down too significantly. I think I don't think they've really changed that much. It's they've kind of like remained the same or so,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is it's a good sign.
Yeah.
I think those are only going to improve as the team gets better.
Yeah. It
I
sounds
think,
basically like a give it time project.
yeah. So I think once the revenue starts coming in, that internal cap goes away.
Yeah.
They can. I mean, how much are they under the cap right now? Like 6 million?
I could actually I'll look that up right now.
Yeah, 10 million.
Okay, 10 million. Huh. Well, I mean, it also just thinking about it giving it just the idea of giving it time that would also be good instead of like rushing like development and trying to make this a winning season to make it to the playoffs. That would really alter a lot of plans if you think
Yeah,
about it.
because I mean, yeah. The one problem they do have is that they have a lot of people up for contracts next year, especially forwards. The only people they really have re-signed are Gaustad, Neil, Stallberg, and Nystrom. Oh, and Forsberg.
Hmm.
But and granted, there's you know restricted free agents, but not more than unrestricted. And I don't know. I just think that it's going to be interesting how they do that. Maybe trying to get some of these guys extended while they can. You know, so that their situation next year is a little clearer, so they can know, oh, should we focus more on like how to do a rebuild? Is it going to be, we should be shooting 2 years down the line, or should we be shooting for next year?
Yeah.
The way they've started playing though, and the way the front office has put together a team, I don't know if they're counting out this year yet though.
Huh.
So I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out.
It's definitely something to revisit in a later episode of the podcast, probably like come mid-season time, where
Yeah.
we're beyond just 10 or 9 games at this point. But much like Nashville, another team is in a unique position at this moment. I can't speak. Um, is in a unique position right now. The New York Islanders, who earlier tonight got shelled by the Colorado Avalanche for nothing. Yep, for nothing. Oh no, they're still playing. It's the end of the second.
Yeah, so the Islanders are of an interesting team. Uh, the ownership things have been floating around, the changing of arenas. There's a lot of off-ice stuff that's going on, but the Islanders have a really good shot these next few years. Well, they have, I guess, these next 2 years mainly, because they have Okposo, Tavares, um, who else? Grabner, all under really, really team-friendly contracts.
Yeah. See, yeah, right now. Tavares doesn't hit unrestricted free agency until 2018-19. Grabner, Okposo, Matt Martin, and oh wait, no, yeah, Okposo, Nielsen, Matt Martin, and Grabner all hit UFA in 16,
Yeah,
17.
yeah. So these next 2 years, they could really put together a run.
Yeah,
Kind of maybe pull an LA Clippers in LA and become no longer no longer playing second fiddle to uh,
the Rangers.
the Rangers or the Lakers in the Clippers case.
Yeah,
This could be, even if they don't win in these next 2 years, they have a chance to reestablish themselves as a big market franchise instead of just that other New York team.
yeah. Right now
Just
we're a suburban team, and it's really weird to think about because when you look at any sports league in North America, all the teams are located in moderate or big cities. The Islanders are
well,
really the
NFL though.
lowest. Oh yeah, the
NFL,
NFL
there's
too.
half the teams are in a suburb.
That's
Foxborough, Massachusetts, Green Bay, Wisconsin. You know,
true.
there's a NFL. I was looking this up like 2 years ago because I was trying to look up if like Foxborough was the smallest city to have a professional sports team, and I was just blown out the door with how many NFL teams are based in a city under 50,000.
Yeah. Um, like the Redskins play in Maryland. You got Green Bay, Foxborough. Yeah, actually, I didn't think about that. But for the NHL, now I moved to Brooklyn, but like now I'm trying to become a big C team to compete with the Rangers. It's really a changing identity because we're going from Long Island's team to Long Island and New York City's team, possibly, depending on how well we do and how well this works out.
Yeah,
But on the ice right now, the Islanders are. I honestly don't know. Some games they look fantastic, and other games it's a little head scratching. Like tonight was a little head scratching. So it's up in the air, but things look like they've progressed pretty good.
yeah. I'm also interested to watch DeHaan's development because he has a lot of attributes that make me think that he can be an elite defenseman, but
Yeah.
it just doesn't seem like he's putting it all together yet. But I think he still can.
One thing I noticed last season from Dahan, like he had his moments where he looked fantastic on the ice. Other times he just looked like a straight up knucklehead and made possibly the most boneheaded moves out there and getting the scrums with guys every now and then. But
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, the potential is definitely there. It's just that putting it all together is they need to work on that.
yeah. He kind of reminds me of Nick Leddy, who you guys now
Yep.
have too,
Yep. Thank you,
of
Chris.
someone with a lot of talents, but just not quite putting it all together yet. But when he does, he could be scary.
Hmm.
But it's also kind of an if.
Yeah, it's really a big if. The other big if, and this isn't for a player, this is more on the coaching staff, is if Capuano this season can not jump when putting together his coaching plan for games, not make it look like a jumbled mess and actually put together an organized system in place. Because sometimes when they're on the ice, it looks like he's just putting whatever he can out there and seeing if it works, as if it's an experiment. But other times, like he seems to have a plan. Uh, really consistency is his big problem.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be. I guess what would you say the Islanders have that's really going for them this
Uh,
season?
right now, it's link-up play between the defense and offense. It looks pretty fluid between neutral zone going towards the offensive attacking areas.
Okay, so like their zone entries and stuff.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, because you watch them a lot more than I do, just out of fandom, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, its zone entry play is looking pretty good. And so far, a healthy John Tavares as well.
Yeah,
He looks fantastic out there.
and I guess it's partly, you just have to keep everyone healthy.
Yeah, that's pretty much. That's really pretty much it to avoid the mess that we had mid-season last year.
And maybe start to get some of your losses in shootouts or overtime, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was actually one of the biggest things when we made our playoff push in the shortened season. We just kept pushing a lot of games into overtime, and we picked up a lot of points that way.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the 2-1-0 system. I'd rather have a 3-1-0 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Would you
don't hate the
rather have the
rules.
tie in place as well?
That's a really good question because the selfish part of me says yes, or sorry, it says no, but the hockey part of me says yes. As a hockey fan, I'd rather have the tie. But my selfish reason for no is the shootout. They have it for a reason. It's an exciting part of the game that brings in, fans and it, and in doing so, it increases revenue. And the more that revenue is increased, the more the Blackhawks don't get fucked over next season. So,
How much financially is in? Actually, let me reword that. Um, how important are finances next season for the Blackhawks?
um, it on a scale of 1 to 10, it'll depend where the salary cap is, because that'll decide whether it's a 9.7 or a 10.
Uh,
Um, we're unless we get rid of someone, we can't have both Sada and Kruger back, which is kind of depressing. Because what's the minimum salary? 550 or 5,500? I mean, or
um,
550,000. I can't say numbers. Isn't that the minimum?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I might have to pull up Cap Geek for this one.
I know Saad right now is making 764,000.
Yeah, and he's due for a huge raise. Even
Yeah.
I was joking with someone from the Puck and Awesome podcast earlier about how this is a ploy by Bowman to lower of putting Stott on the fourth line is a ploy by Bowman to lower his value so he can afford him.
Huh. He also has a bonus in place too this season for 130,000 as well.
Yeah.
Huh.
So next year we have a 15-man salary. We have a 15-man roster with 3.2 million in space. So let's take a very liberal estimate and say the cap goes up from 69 million to 75 million. So like an 8% jump. If we have 75 million in cap space, we have 9.2 million to fill 8 roster spots. Now, if you sign, 6 guys to the minimum, or 6 guys to the minimum, that's like 3.3 million. And how much did I say? 9 million? 9.2 million? So we're
Yes.
at 5.9 million, right? 5.9 million for Kruger and Saad.
Right.
Yeah, so that doesn't sound right. 9.2 minus 3.2, 3.3. Yeah, I guess it's 5.9 million. Okay, so 5.9 million for Kruger and Saad. Even if they take hometown discounts, they'll combine. I guess if they took hometown discounts, we could afford them. Saad at what, 3 million and Kruger at 1.5. But to assume that is pretty optimistic, almost as optimistic as assuming the salary cap's going to be 75 million next year. Take almost a 10% jump.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Also, in doing so, we're going to have to replace guys like Oduya. We would have a defensive core of Seabrook, Keith, Chalmerson, Van Riemsdyk, and 2 or 3 guys signed for the minimum. Our forwards would be losing Brad Richards, Carcillo. I guess not really anyone else. But just the idea that 2 of our very good 2A players, we're probably going to have to part with one of them. And our defensive core is going to be 4 guys and a bunch of scrubs. Actually, 3 guys, a third pairing guy, and a scrub, I guess. So, or 2 scrubs. So we only really have 3 defensemen and then a third pairing guy, who's kind of already a place filler. And then we'd have to get 2 more of those. So
Ben had to mute his mic and up there we go.
yeah, that's not cleaning, so I just wanted to shut it up.
Okay.
I didn't want that. Yeah.
So what you're saying is the Blackhawks are possibly heading into some interesting times.
Yeah, we're gonna still have our forward depth. We'll still have a starting level goal, like a higher caliber starting goalie. I don't want to say he's an above average goalie.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into another Crawford discussion because that's been done by so many people for the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So, but I think everyone can agree that Crawford deserves to be a starter in the NHL. So, we have a solid goalie signed. We have pretty good forward depth, but we're probably going to have to part with some of our defensive strength. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. I guess we do have the advantage of being able to spend up to cap on people. So I guess we have that advantage over some teams, and many of them are having some pretty big struggles financially, like Florida, who I kind of feel sorry for them. They're only averaging like 9,300, 9,400 fans a game, even though it's only 2 games in.
Yeah, it's not
That's
looking good down there.
that's it's gone from their franchise doesn't look, sustainable and very financially stable to this is horrible. They need to drastically redo something or find some new way to secure money because this makes the Coyotes look like the Maple Leafs.
Yeah,
They say they're
what?
not going to move the team, but no person is so rich that they're just going to let a team bleed $30 million a year.
Yeah, I mean, they play outside Miami. They play in Sunrise. It's quite a travel. I don't know how far it is from Miami, but they need to move. I know they're saying no, but it I have a feeling it's going to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I really, I feel bad for the Florida fan base to have to put up with a move, but unless they get funding from the county or something like that,
Hmm.
I don't like the whole idea of a team being in two teams being in Florida to begin with. The idea that Florida has twice as many teams as Minnesota. I mean, the best hockey states in the U.S. are probably like Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Massachusetts.
They have as many teams as Florida combined.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I don't know, that's kind of BS to begin with. But now that they're an established franchise, I just don't like the idea of a team having to move. Just like I felt bad for the Supersonics when they had to get out
Yeah.
of Seattle. Well, they didn't have to get out of Seattle, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, that was also a bizarre situation too, because the ownership was saying we're not moving the franchise, we're not moving the franchise. Meanwhile, Stern and the owner were having secret conversations about moving the franchise.
Yeah, and I feel like that has to be happening in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
As, as much as it stinks for Florida,
Do you think there could be a scenario kind of like when the Expos came under control of Major League Baseball, the NHL taking over the Panthers, and, and then figuring
I,
out what to do?
I could kind of see that. Um, the only thing is that the NHL owners probably won't want to sustain that.
Yeah.
The
No.
only possible reason an owner might want to do something like that would be if they're already you know, a team like Carolina who doesn't have very much money. If you have another team that's not very financially stable, as opposed to another team that, or actually no, that doesn't. Never mind. That doesn't even make sense either. I was gonna say for revenue sharing reasons they'd get more money, but they wouldn't. Oh, whatever. I'm probably overthinking this.
Um, I guess it's just a matter of do you like poutine or grunge music in this case?
Yeah,
Seattle or
even
Quebec
though,
City?
yeah, I'm still not sold on the idea that Seattle's necessarily going to be successful.
Yeah.
Um, Quebec, I think, would be successful, but you're not really expanding the NHL's revenue because you're expanding to, fans that already have TV deals for, the Habs probably. I'm sure
Yeah.
that I'm sure that Quebec City has a. I should probably not say that without checking, but either way, merchandise sales, you're the amount you're increasing the NHL's revenue, like, isn't that much. I mean, it's probably as insignificant as what Florida's bringing to the table already.
Hmm.
Seattle would be better in that respect, but and again, I think they could definitely be much more financially sustainable than a team based out of Miami or the Miami metro area, I should say.
Yeah, I mean they're playing in a city right now has a population of 88,000 in Sunrise.
Yeah, so I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting to see moving forward, but
Yeah, maybe there'll be another game thread with a courtroom battle again.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was that was kind of funny when that happened, but probably not to the Coyote fans. I'm a little less sympathetic towards the Coyote fans ever since the free Torres incident when Torres got suspended during the playoffs for the
Oh
concussion that
yeah,
was out for forever.
yeah.
So I'm still not completely over that, and it kind of it makes me a little bit less sympathetic towards the Coyotes and their fan base.
Hmm.
So
Well, I guess for the sake of the Panthers, we shall see in the next
yeah,
like 3 or 4 years.
yeah,
Um, but they're not the only team that has tough decisions to make. Speaking of one, what do you think the Vancouver Canucks should do? Should they make a better team, or should they just go for the stealth tank and go for McDavid or any top player?
that's a tough situation they're in because I don't envision I don't think they should I probably don't think they should win now, but it's tough because in hockey, unlike a sport like baseball where you can keep a guy in the minor leagues for as long as you want. Well, I guess you can do that in hockey too, but
Yeah, just stash
you
them
know,
in the AHL or send them back to juniors for a little bit.
yeah. Um, but I guess the bigger thing is that when he comes up, you don't immediately get 3 years of him at the minimum.
Right.
And like in baseball, half these guys are, when baseball players become free agents, they're like 29 years old, like unrestricted free agents. They've done 3 years of uh, at the
Arbitration.
minimum and 3 years of arbitration. Yeah, so in hockey, and in hockey, you peak a lot earlier than baseball.
Yeah.
So that kind of offsets it, but hockey rebuilds are a little bit different because you have to kind of plan in advance for that stuff. You don't get those guys at the minimum, so your restricted free agents are still extremely valuable because cap management is so important, especially with a hard cap. But
Hmm.
I almost think the Vancouver Canucks should start thinking of, you know, kind of hoarding draft picks for like 3 or 4 years in the future. I know nobody wants to be patient for a very extended rebuild. I guess as a Cubs fan, I'm a little biased towards those types of rebuilds.
Yeah.
But and I know every Vancouver fan in the world would disagree with me on this, but you have a, you have four players that are going to be unrestricted free agents next year. None of them are super good or anything, and the Sedins are under really nice deals, and you have you know a lot of defensemen under nice deals or restricted free agents, but it's going to be with Luongo's money on the books. I think they should at least, well, at least part of it. I think they should at least consider doing something like trading the Sedins for, you know, draft picks 2 years from now. I'm not saying they should do that. I'm just, they should
Hmm.
put that on the table as a possibility because the Sedins have such team-friendly contracts, and I don't. Miller's a good goalie, but I don't know if he can. He's out of his prime, and I don't think he's. I don't know if he's worth the $6 million for the next few years they have him, and I don't know if they can really. If too many players kind of on the downswing of their careers, and I think they might just want to try to get as much value as for what they kind of have as they can.
Hmm.
And I guess I'm kind of looking for a long-term rebuild that will put them in a playoff spot like 4 or 5 years in a row, and just
Yeah.
going from there. But at the same time, the fact that half the teams make the playoffs in hockey, and that the hockey playoffs, it's so much about who's healthy and who's hitting their stride at the right time. They, I could see a strong argument for, well, they had the whole fact that they have the Sedins under team-friendly deals means that they shouldn't rebuild because they have the teams make the playoffs when you have two great players. Actually, and throw BX in there under a really nice deal.
Yeah.
They can put something together. It's just kind of tough because this year is kind of already, I feel like, a wash for them because I don't see them making the playoffs this year.
It's pretty much an odd state of affairs. Just looking at their roster and yeah, actually just looking at their roster and just the overturn that they had this offseason, bringing a new coach, Linden, and I want to say, is it Jim Benning who's the GM now?
Um, Not sure actually. I made some kind of
Yes, it's Jim Benning.
I made some kind of strong claims, and I can't even name their GM. That was pretty. Yeah.
Anyway, back to what I was saying. Just looking at what they did this off season and looking at the roster right now, it's very patchworky, and it's a team that looks like they're at a crossroads, trying to get out of the Gillis period and into this new period, and they just don't know where to go. Should they keep at it with this or change it up? And right now they're sitting fourth place in the Pacific Division. Conference-wise, they are fourth. Oh wait, no, hold on. That's actually wrong. I'm looking at again goal difference. Conference-wise, they're sixth place in the West. So it's really pretty much a unique situation right now.
Yeah. So the Canucks are at a really tough point. They have a lot of stuff going for them. It's one of those things where they have to kind of commit to plan A or plan B sooner rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they were to, focus on a long-term rebuild, kind of now is the time to trade the Sedins, I'd say.
Yeah.
I don't know if any fan base out there, and especially with a new GM, I don't think that you're really gonna. I mean, you have to have a pretty big reputation. I'm thinking back to the way the Cubs have done are pretty much doing a 6-year rebuild, but everyone's kind of giving them a pass because it's Theo Epstein. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, it's Theo. We'll just trust that he's doing the right thing and just kind of let all the pieces fall into place. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's Vancouver can't do that because you don't have Theo Epstein, and the Yeah, I would almost what they should do and what they should do for the Canucks and what they should do for themselves is a are two different things, I think.
Yeah.
Because if I was in his position, I wouldn't trade the Sedins. I'd get completely murdered for trading two people on team-friendly deals. Actually, I don't even know if it's the right decision for the team, but I know that I would get destroyed in the Vancouver media for trading kind of your two franchise players under really, really team-friendly deals.
Hmm.
I don't know. And I don't even think a rebuild needs the center around trading them. I'm just thinking that it's an option that they should consider if they are looking for that longer term rebuild and stockpiling prospects all in 1 year of, getting. Because you can probably get. If you trade the Cityans, you're getting both to one team, you're getting multiple draft picks, multiple first round draft picks from one team. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess if they somehow put I guess this season is just let's see what we have and go from here. AKA because they have Jim Benning as general manager, also known as the Carolina Hurricanes method. Let's see what we have, and maybe we'll end up somewhere.
Yeah.
Um, but at least they're not the Edmonton Oilers being the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
That's what do the Edmonton Oilers do now?
Um, yeah. I haven't been on my game with the predictions this year, but I think that the Edmonton Oilers. I, I guess I should say going into the season, I was saying this is going to be the year Edmonton actually turns it around.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently not. Um, and looking at the Oilers, I can kind of see why maybe I was a little bit too high on Colorado too.
Yeah.
That just having ridiculous amounts of talent and names that you're like, man, that guy can really play hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't necessarily mean that putting them together is going to make a good team.
I mean,
But
what? Oh, go ahead.
I think the most interesting thing is the Oilers are not putting Draisaitl back in, back down to develop more. They decided no, we're going to use one of his arbitration years this year.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think they're the only argument that I can think of that makes sense of why they would do that is that they feel like they're not looking 5 years down the line of, well, we're trying to win 5 years from now. They're thinking more, our team, the dynasty we're trying to create is 5 to 10 years. 5 years from now to 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of 2 years from now to 7 years from now.
Yeah.
In which case they need to develop him sooner rather than later, and he's going to develop faster in the NHL because when you look at his game, I feel like he's an NHL player. Like I don't see him really developing more at a lower level. He'll just tear it up again, score a ton of goals that he wouldn't have been able to score in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
And he wouldn't really be learning anything. He'd just be dominating. Like if you're trying to become the greatest chess player in the world, you're not going to be playing against people that are way under you all the time. You're eventually going to have to learn to play against people at your level and maybe even a little above your level, so you can learn the stuff.
Yeah.
It's not like oh, he has to work on, you know, you know, these small little things like, you know, his release on his wrist shot or things like that. That you don't want him to have to learn these things in the NHL where the stakes are bigger and where small mistakes will cost more.
Mm-hmm.
And equally importantly, where the you you just need to, I guess, see how it works from a uh, standpoint of, oh well, this is how I do it at this level, so now I have to just do it at the next level. Um, I don't know. I guess I'm not communicating that very well. But I'm not sure how to word it. I'm not sure how to turn my thoughts into words on that one. But
I understood it,
yeah,
kind of.
yeah. I just think that there's certain players that you want developing at the lower levels, but
Yeah.
I can see him as not really getting better,
Mm-hmm.
getting sent down again.
I don't know. I look at the Oilers and I feel like they're trying to take everything from the 80s and put it back into this team by saying, look, we got all this young talent and they're going to somehow we're going to make it work. But if you really want these guys to develop, and I know Hall had a great season, had a pretty good season last year. Eugene Hopkins has some injury problems, but is looking pretty good or pretty decent to say the least. But there's always been, I know they have Ferentz now, but there's always been a lack of veteran presence to really take these young guys and help them in a way.
Yeah,
So it's almost like they're trying to keep the culture of the 80s in place by saying, look, we're doing this again, but really, like, you guys, they need like a little bit more or something.
yeah.
Um,
So, another one of the things we were gonna talk about. I guess Brittany's not here, so our resident Pens fan can't chime in. But there have been some new injuries with the Penguins. One of which being, I guess, kind of scary in name at least. With, I guess, any cancer kind of can be pretty scary. But
mm-hmm.
kind of wanted to just clear up something about his cancer because it's thyroid cancer,
Yeah.
and thyroid cancer is fortunately a very, very treatable cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thyroid gland it's important, but if and it's useful to have it, but if you don't have it, you can take medications to kind of
Right.
act as if your body has a thyroid gland.
It's one of the glands of
So
the endocrine system, right?
yeah, so the they can pretty much remove the entire gland if they need to, and as a result, the the success rates of the surgery are extremely high. Also, there's some medical treatments too out there, but I guess I'm just saying that everyone can expect a full recovery from
Mm-hmm.
it.
According to the
And
doctor, they say that the tumor is 85%, or a tumor was 85% cancerous. Um, but
even the
also that
size,
the size of it,
yeah,
it doesn't say. I'm just reading the New York Times excerpt because that was the first thing that came up on it. But that Mata would not need to undergo chemotherapy or radiation following the surgery.
yeah. The only
That's
type of thing that resembles radiation is they can give them radioactive iodine because it's a certain isotope of iodine that's radioactive, and it's very specific to the thyroid gland because your thyroid gland takes in a lot of iodine.
right.
So yeah.
Um, I mean, in this case, or in any serious medical case, playing or not playing is irrelevant. But how
But
do you think this affects his career going forward?
um, I don't think it affects him too much. Because the recurrence rates aren't very high, and you know, with the amount of doctors they have to, make sure all of his, synthetic thyroid hormone they're giving him is, the right amount. I mean, he is. They can pretty much throw as much money as they want into his medical care, and I have no question that he's going to return at 100% or very close to
Right,
100%.
right. Um, hopefully he has a speedy recovery and is back at it soon.
Yeah.
Actually, not speedy. A safe recovery. But, well, I'd say we're almost at an hour. You want to wrap it up?
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess the main thing I want to say is that we're now officially doing Thursdays only instead of Mondays. For 'cause it clearly was not the best time for all of us to do it. So
Yeah. It turns out at the start of this season, our schedules and workloads were pretty hectic on Monday night, so Thursdays it will be, and we're looking forward to doing these episodes on these nights.
and at an hour earlier than normal too.
Yep. So it's not really after hours, but it's still late in the evening. So it's kind of like it's like our hockey late show, almost after hours.
Hmm.
Want to get into semantics, but anyway,
And after hour can still be a more of just the after hour type of programming, I guess, with flaccid bacon things.
yep, it's just ingrained to the culture of this podcast.
After hour, but now on Nova Scotia time.
I guess we'll be a big hit in Nova Scotia then.
Yep.
All right, break out the lobster rolls, I guess. Um, well, anyway, that wraps it up for this episode of the new and improved Our Hockey After Hour. You could find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel, which is Our Hockey Cast, where you can listen to not just our show, but also other shows such as Fucking Awesome, Clash of Continents, Toddler, Thursdays, which was on earlier on Thursdays, and other great shows. You can also find us on Reddit and subscribe to our Hockey Cast, and find us on Twitter at Our Hockey Cast. As for our hosts, you could find Ben on Twitter at Dancing on Highway, and me on Twitter at Andrew Paddock. And for other two hosts who sadly aren't here tonight due to health and other reasons, such as lack of phone, you can find them on Twitter at PitPensPats and at Ron in a Box. And that about does us for this episode of the Our Hockey After Hour. And we will see you next Thursday night at 10:30. So good night, everyone, and have a happy Halloween tomorrow.